Clara had always believed that love was about trust, understanding, and unwavering support. As a dedicated nurse, she spent her days caring for patients, offering them comfort in their most vulnerable moments. But the person she cared for the most was Ryan, a talented architect with a successful career and a heart full of dreams. Their love was strong, built on years of companionship, laughter, and a shared vision for the future. Clara adored Ryan, not for his wealth or success, but for the way he made her feel safe and cherished. They had a plan, an intimate wedding, a home designed by Ryan himself, and a life where they would always stand by each other, no matter what. But Ryan harbored a fear deep inside him. He wondered, did Clara love him for who he truly was, or for the security and stability he provided? That doubt festered in his mind, making him question everything they had built together. And so he made a reckless decision. He would test Clara's love. One evening, as they sat together in their warm, cozy apartment, Ryan hesitated before speaking. His face was troubled, and Clara noticed immediately. "Clara, something terrible has happened," he said, his voice heavy with fabricated distress. He had no idea that this choice would push their relationship to the breaking point. Clara froze as she heard the desperation in Ryan's voice. She set her teacup down, reaching for his hand, her eyes filled with concern. Waited. "What happened, Ryan? You can tell me anything." Ryan let out a deep, heavy sigh, his gaze fixed on the floor as if he was battling an invisible force inside him. Then he spoke, slowly, deliberately, each word carrying an unbearable weight. "I lost everything, Clara. A major project I invested in, it completely collapsed. I was deceived. All my savings, our future plans, everything is gone." Clara's eyes widened, her heart tightening in her chest. A flood of thoughts rushed through her mind, mounting debt, losing their apartment, the wedding they had been planning slipping away. But amid the chaos, one feeling overpowered everything else: determination. She tightened her grip on Ryan's hand, her gaze unwavering. "We'll get through this together. You're not alone, Ryan. I'm here with you." Ryan lowered his head, hiding the flicker of guilt in his eyes. He hadn't expected this reaction. No hesitation, no fear, just unconditional support. A pang of remorse hit him, but he pushed it aside. "But Clara, I don't want you to suffer because of me. I have nothing left to give you." Clara shook her head. "I don't love you for your money. I love you for who you are. If we have to start over, then so be it. What matters is that we have each other." Ryan stared at Clara, emotions swirling inside him. She truly loved him, that much was undeniable, but instead of feeling relief, he felt the weight of his lie crushing him, because he knew he was deceiving the one person who had ever truly believed in him. Clara refused to let Ryan sink into despair. The very next morning, she woke up early, made breakfast, and placed a small notebook in front of him. "We need a plan," she said, her voice filled with determination. Ryan looked at her, surprised. He had expected her to break down, maybe even start doubting their future together. But she wasn't going anywhere. She was stronger than ever. "Where can you start over?" Clara asked, flipping to the first page of the notebook. Ryan let out a dramatic sigh, pretending to be lost. "I don't know, Clara. Everything I built is gone. It'll take years to get back on my feet." Clara reached for his hand and squeezed it gently. "Then we'll start from scratch. You're talented, Ryan. You're an incredible architect. We can cut back on expenses, postpone the wedding if we have to. What matters is that you don't give up." Ryan swallowed hard. She was willing to give up a lavish wedding, willing to embrace a harder life, just to stand by his side. Her sincerity weighed on him like a heavy stone. But Clara didn't stop at words. She started searching for new job opportunities for Ryan, even reaching out to some wealthy patients she had cared for, hoping they could help. She did everything in her power to pull him out of the hopeless situation he had fabricated. One evening, after a long shift at the hospital, Clara came home exhausted but smiling. "I found a few opportunities for you. There's a company looking for an architect for a small project. I think this could be a good start." Ryan froze. She wasn't just saying she believed in him. She was proving it through her actions. But he knew the truth. He had lost nothing, and this lie, sooner or later, would tear them apart. As time passed, Clara remained by Ryan's side, helping him navigate the crisis he had fabricated. But the more she observed, the more something felt off. Ryan claimed he had lost everything, yet his habits hadn't changed. He still wore his expensive suits, took mysterious phone calls he avoided in front of her, and continued driving the same luxury car he supposedly could no longer afford. Small details like these began to gnaw at Clara's mind. One evening, when Ryan left to meet an old friend, Clara decided to check some of his financial documents. Not because she doubted him, she simply wanted to understand their situation better. But as she opened his email on his laptop, she froze. There were no signs of a financial loss. His bank statements showed no missing funds. His accounts were completely intact. In fact, a recent transaction revealed he had just placed a deposit on a new piece of land, something entirely contradictory to his desperate claims of being ruined. Clara sat still, her heart sinking. Ryan had lied. A deep sense of disappointment washed over her. She had spent days doing everything she could to support him, to lift him up, even sacrificing their future plans. And for what? A test? When Ryan returned home, Clara was waiting. The worry and concern in her eyes had vanished, replaced by hurt and quiet anger. "Is there something you want to tell me, Ryan?" Her voice was cold, devoid of its usual warmth. Ryan stopped in his tracks. He met Clara's gaze and immediately knew she had discovered the truth. His lie had finally been exposed. Ryan stood frozen as Clara stared at him, her eyes filled with deep hurt. There was no room for excuses or more lies. She knew everything. "I want the truth, right now." Her voice didn't tremble from fear, but from disappointment. Ryan exhaled heavily, knowing he could no longer hide. He pulled out a chair, sat down, and lowered his head, unable to meet Clara's gaze. "I never actually lost everything," he finally admitted. The air in the room grew heavier. Clara closed her eyes for a moment, trying to steady the storm of emotions raging inside her. "So you've been lying to me this whole time? For what, Ryan? Why would you do this?" Ryan swallowed hard before finally looking at her, regret evident in his eyes. "I was scared, Clara. I was afraid that you loved me for the life I could provide, not for who I really am. I needed to know that if everything disappeared, you would still stay." Clara let out a dry, humorless laugh. "To prove that, you turned me into some kind of experiment? Do you have any idea how worried I was? Do you know how hard I tried to help you and you just sat there and watched me, as if I were a puppet in your little test?" Ryan remained silent. He had no defense, because she was right. Clara stood up, grabbing her coat and bag. "I trusted you, Ryan. I gave you everything, my love, my support, my belief in us, and you turned it into a game. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. I need time to think." She walked out the door, leaving Ryan alone, face to face with the worst mistake he had ever made. Ryan sat there, staring at the door that had just closed in front of him. The apartment suddenly felt colder than ever. He had everything. A woman who loved him unconditionally, willing to sacrifice anything to stand by his side, and he had destroyed it all because of his own irrational fear. In the days that followed, Ryan tried to reach out to Clara, but she didn't respond. His messages went unanswered, his calls ignored. He knew he had hurt her in a way that a simple apology couldn't fix. But he wasn't going to give up. He wrote a long letter, pouring out everything he felt. He didn't make excuses, didn't try to justify himself. He just wanted Clara to know how deeply he regretted his actions. He told her about the fear of losing her that had driven him to do something so foolish, and how he now realized that it was his own actions that had pushed her away. After finishing the letter, he left it at her door, hoping she would read it. Days turned into weeks, and still, there was no response. Each unanswered message felt like another weight pressing down on his chest. But Ryan knew this wasn't about waiting for forgiveness. It was about becoming the man Clara deserved. He started volunteering at the charity organizations Clara had always loved, trying to do something meaningful instead of just drowning in regret. And then, one day, as he was helping a group of children paint at an orphanage, he looked up and saw Clara standing in the distance, watching him. His heart pounded. This might be his only chance. Ryan stood frozen, his heart pounding as his eyes met Clara's. She didn't walk away, nor did she look angry. She simply stood there, watching him. Slowly, he set down the paintbrush, wiped his hands, and walked toward her. "Did you read my letter?" he asked, his voice laced with uncertainty. Clara nodded but didn't respond right away. She studied him, no longer seeing the proud man she once knew, but someone who had changed, or at least was trying to. "Ryan," she sighed softly, "you really hurt me, not just because you lied, but because you thought my love needed to be tested." Ryan lowered his head, guilt washing over him. "I know, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I just want you to know that I was wrong, and I will never make that mistake again." Clara was silent for a long moment. Finally, she gave a small nod. "I don't know if things can ever be the same again, but if you're truly willing to change, I'm willing to give you a chance to prove it." Ryan looked at her, hope flickering in his eyes. This wasn't a perfect ending, but it was a new beginning, a chance to rebuild, this time with honesty and understanding. As time passed, Ryan didn't just apologize. He proved himself through actions. He was no longer the man who sought security in love through tests and deception. Instead, he learned to trust, to love without conditions. Clara kept her distance at first, but the pain in her eyes gradually faded. Little by little, she saw the changes in Ryan. He no longer tried to control or test her. He was simply there, rebuilding what had been broken. They spent more time volunteering together, helping underprivileged children. Ryan had once believed that wealth was the most important thing, but now he realized that true love was found in the simplest moments. One evening, as they sat by the lake, Clara turned to Ryan and softly said, "I trust you." Ryan froze, his heart pounding. Those 3 words meant more than any forgiveness he could have asked for. Their story wasn't a perfect fairy tale, but it was real, a love built through wounds, lessons, and growth. And this time, there were no doubts, only trust. As time passed, Ryan didn't just apologize, he proved his love through actions. He learned to love without fear, to trust without conditions, and slowly, Clara saw the change in him. One evening, Ryan took Clara to their favorite spot by the lake. The water shimmered under the soft glow of the city lights, creating a magical, peaceful atmosphere. Clara turned to Ryan with a gentle smile. "I trust you?" Ryan's heart pounded. He had waited so long to hear those words. Taking a deep breath, he reached into his pocket, pulled out a small velvet box, and dropped to one knee. "I lost you once because of my foolishness, but you still gave me a chance to make things right. Clara, you are the only person I want to walk this life with. I love you, not because you stayed when I had everything, but because you stayed even when I had nothing. Will you marry me?" Clara covered her mouth, tears glistening in her eyes. "Ryan, I was so afraid that we would never find our way back, but you proved to me that love isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other, every single day. So yes, Ryan, 1,000 times yes." Ryan beamed, slipping the ring onto her finger before pulling her into a tight embrace. Their story wasn't a perfect fairy tale, but it was a story of love, forgiveness, and 2 hearts finding their way back to each other. And this time, there were no doubts, only forever. The big day had finally arrived. The sky was clear and a soft golden sunlight bathed the garden where the wedding was being held. White ribbons swayed gently in the breeze and vibrant flowers decorated the venue with a romantic charm. Friends, family, and even the children from the orphanage Clara and Ryan had volunteered at gathered to witness this special moment. Ryan stood at the altar, his heart pounding as he saw Clara walking toward him. She wore a simple yet elegant wedding dress, her eyes shimmering with pure happiness. Every step she took felt like a reminder of how incredibly lucky he was to have her in his life. When she reached him, Ryan took her hand, his gaze filled with love. "You once told me you trusted me, and today I want to tell you I believe in us forever." They exchanged vows, not promises of a perfect life, but a commitment to face every challenge together. When the officiant declared them husband and wife, Ryan gently lifted Clara's chin and kissed her with all the love in his heart. Cheers and applause erupted around them. This was the beginning of a new journey, a life where they would stand by each other, not just in happiness, but through every storm. No more doubts, only love, trust, and a forever built to last.